Howdy folks, and welcome back to another video. It is finally time for the long-awaited and incredibly difficult to produce part 2 about Animal Jam Jambassadors and why, nowadays with a new wave of Jambassadors, people don't really like them. If you weren't already aware, I did post a part 1, which I'm going to link in the description, where I went over some surface level information about why people have claimed that they don't like the Jambassadors, explain the viewpoint of those people, as well as my own opinion, and why the Jambassadors may be behaving in the way that people don't like. However, after I posted this video, I'm going to be honest, I wasn't super happy with it. I thought that I could have done better, that there was more research that I could have done, but I posted it anyways because I didn't want to spend my whole life working on it, and I was really unsatisfied with it. But the way the video was received was incredible. It was beyond anything that I could have expected. Thus far, this video has been my most popular one on my page. It has caused my channel to massively inflate in size. I've gotten comments from very famous jammers, and I've been a little bit overwhelmed, but I've mostly been handling it well. But I've heard so many more people's input and their opinions on this whole thing, and I have learned so much more than I knew when I first started filming part 1, which is why I asked in a YouTube poll if I should make a part 2, and the votes decided that yes, I should, and so here we are. I'm going to go over a lot of the things that I've learned since making my part 1, as well as some information from somebody else who I was very lucky to be able to interview. So as many of you know, I had a lot of difficulties in producing this part 2. I got an entire hour or so of content, both vocal and video content, that I wasn't able to actually put out there because my phone had some sort of issue and all of that footage corrupted, and that caused this project to be set back by a couple days. However, I would say that this whole thing has been a little bit of a blessing in disguise, because not long after I lost all of the footage and I put out my community post saying that, hey, this is going to take a little longer than intended, I got a DM on Instagram. Now, I don't really use Instagram. The most times that I'm on Instagram is to see when the Jambassador events are and to occasionally participate in some of Animal Jam's Instagram events. So I don't see it very often, but I do have my notifications on. So I got a notification that a Jambassador, Delicate, or Delicate, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, had followed me and sent me a message. I cannot understate how kind she was. She complimented my video. She told me she liked my content and the opinions that I put out there and how I tried to represent both sides. And when I expressed that I was going to make a part 2 to the Jambassador video, she told me that if I needed any assistance in any ways, that she'd be willing to help me or answer some questions. And so I asked if she'd be willing to answer a couple questions that I had, which ended up being more than a couple, that I could put into the video so that I could be a little bit more educated about where the Jambassadors are coming from. And she said yes, and so I was very lucky to be able to, well, sort of informally interview a Jambassador. And if you're watching this, thank you so much. I seriously appreciate it. I can't understate how grateful that I am, and I'm happy to have learned from this. I really am. So the first thing that I'm going to be talking about is the Jambassadors' attitudes. Specifically, what I've seen being thrown around is that they sound too scripted, very samey, almost like they're corporate and being told what to say by Animal Jam, or the fact that they're too positive and shy away from anything negative or anything that's wrong with the community, and in other people's words, seem to display toxic positivity or just kind of try to sugarcoat anything that's going on in Animal Jam. Now for this video, I actually did go onto a couple different Jambassadors pages and I watched some videos across a couple different people, and I can kind of see where people are coming from. This definitely isn't a thing that's happening with all Jambassadors. There are definitely a bunch out there who have their own personality, their own style, but there are a few Jambassadors that I noticed seem to have the same format, the same tone, and I want to say that this could be for a couple reasons. For one, the infamous YouTuber voice. This isn't a thing that is only like in Animal Jam, but across the entirety of social media, a lot of people have what the internet has dubbed the YouTuber voice, where people can over-exaggerate their emotions and their reactions pretty much to keep their audience engaged, even if they really aren't feeling that way, which can have some YouTubers to come off as cringy, either too excited or for people of different content nature, too gloomy or edgy. And I would say that a couple of the Jambassadors do have this issue, and I have noticed it myself, but I don't think that this is intentional. I mean, it might be, but it also could be entirely subconscious. I acknowledge that myself, that I definitely put on a little bit of a voice for YouTube. I'm not really sure why. I guess for me, it just feels more natural, and I stutter a lot and I ramble a lot. And so speaking the way that I do, with the strong emotions, allows me through a screen without seeing my face to better enunciate the points that I'm trying to put out there, and as well to keep people hooked and entertained. Sometimes I'm doing this consciously, other times I'm doing it subconsciously, which is why a lot of the times when I go back and watch some of my videos, I notice myself that I start off the video as more quiet, more meek, maybe a little softer in my voice, but as I continue, I gain confidence and I talk louder and I talk with more enunciation. Another reason that Jambassadors may be perceived this way, and I feel like it is really important that I mention this, is that some Jambassadors are minors. Yes, some of the Jambassadors are children. Of course, it's not all of them, and in fact, I had no idea that some of these Jambassadors were minors until it was brought to my attention from somebody in my comments, and yeah, children just tend to be children. Children are cringy. I mean, during their early days, people like Lemon Puppy and Keck were also children making videos. I mean, if you want to be really technical, I'm 17. I'm not an adult yet. I'm also a child making videos. And when you're young and immature, you're gonna sound young and immature. And that's not really something anyone can help. So I feel like that's a whole discussion about the positivity in their voice and the similar inflection that a lot of people have while making videos. But what I haven't talked about yet is the corporate energy that a lot of people say the Jambassadors put out, and the avoidance of conflict and controversy. A lot of people are saying they think that Jambassadors should speak out when something bad happens. I don't feel comfortable talking about these topics, and it would not surprise me if Jambassadors didn't feel the same way. In fact, when I was talking to Delicate, one of the things that I asked her was, is there any particular reason why you and other Jambassadors haven't talked about things like the Hyanine situation? And she told me about what I expected. And that's, one, the inevitable. When you're making videos on drama situations, there is no way that you can guarantee that you get everybody's side and all of the information. And that by covering this, you're going to, in one way or another, get drawn into the drama. There are going to be people who disagree with you. There are going to be people who are writing nasty comments because they don't see it the way that you do. And it can be really bad and bog down your mental health. I myself have a couple issues that I deal with outside of Animal Jam in the real world. And for me, Animal Jam is my escapism. It's my safe place. And yeah, I can acknowledge and I will talk about some of the issues that Animal Jam has, but talking about some topics as messed up and serious, I can't do that. There are people out there who will bring attention to it. People out there who have the guts and are in a place where they're able to discuss these things without affecting them personally. I am not one of those people, which is why when I made my introductory video, I said that I won't be covering he said, she said, even if it isn't as simple as he said, she said. Stuff that are involving specific members of the community, accusations, whether or not they may be true, I can't cover that. It doesn't make me comfortable, and it makes me upset, and apparently, it's very likely that a lot of the Jambassadors seem the same way. So they make Animal Jam YouTube the safe space that they have in Animal Jam itself. And lastly for this section, there's the fact that a lot of people are saying that the Jambassadors are saying the same things, covering the same things in such a way that it seems like they're reading off a script. And for some of them, they probably are. A lot of YouTubers script their videos. Lemon Puppy scripts her videos. I keep referencing her just because I like her content so much. Tons of people script their videos. And sure, they might not sound like they're reading off a script, but not everybody is able to do that. In fact, that's why I don't read off a script. Sure, it might make me sound rambly at times, and I might stutter myself to death. But if I were to read off a script, I would sound like I'm reading off a script. But some people have to. When they turn on the camera, they might blank and not remember the points that they want to say. And that's okay. And so a lot of people, yes, they are reading off a script. This script is not provided by Animal Jam. And let me explain. Another question that I had asked Delicate when I was interviewing them was, what are the guidelines that Animal Jam provides you when it comes to making content? And this surprised me. As it seems, there are very few guidelines that Animal Jam puts in place for Jambassadors to follow. I mean, you gotta be logical. You can't be out there saying slurs and posting really inappropriate stuff. But the lines are very thin, and people can push and bend them the way they can. When I visited Delicate's profile, the most recent video that I saw was of a TikTok audio where, it's this person saying gay in a bunch of different silly ways. And the video that they had posted was how the different alphas would say gay. And I was surprised that as a Jambassador that they were allowed to post this. Because yeah, it's funny. I mean, I'm gay and I think it's funny, but not a lot of people may think that. And there are some children out there whose parents don't really like gay people. And it's a controversial topic, whether or not it should be. And I mean, you can't really even say gay in Animal Jam itself, but here we are with a Jambassador posting that content. And I was surprised. But when I found out that Animal Jam really doesn't have strict guidelines for what you can and can't post, I felt surprised, but also really happy. Because that kind of confirmed to me what I had already perceived, that there was something up, but it's not the Jambassadors being spoon-fed information. These people are just genuine and kind and caring outside of Animal Jam, which unfortunately in this day and age is not something you see very often. At this point, somehow, my channel has ballooned and has gotten the attention of a couple bigger people. Even if the attention isn't huge attention, I've gotten comments from people like Wisteria Moon. Hey, I got a comment on one of my TikToks on the Animal Jam page themselves. And all of my interactions with all of the Jambassadors I've spoken to, which at this point it has been quite a few, have been incredibly positive, both in public and in private scenarios. They seem to be the same positive people that they are on their YouTube channel. And I personally do like to assume the best of people. I can understand why you may not, or you may be skeptical, and that is completely valid. I just, personally, from what I have seen and what I have gathered, they do genuinely seem to be good people. And the reason that the content may seem really samey, or like the same information being repeated over and over again, is because Animal Jam is one game. Every single month they put out one update, and if you're going to cover that update, it's going to be every single Animal Jam Jambassador covering the same content. So it's going to get a little samey. If everyone is talking about an anteater, it's going to seem like the same script over and over again, the same way that for me, watching Animal Jam drama videos, when the Hyanine situation was going on, I felt like every single content creator who was covering it were saying the same things over again. It felt very samey, very corporate, but they weren't really banding together to spread the same identical information word for word. In reality, they weren't saying word for word either, but they all had gathered the same information, the same background data, the same everything, and since they were all covering the same stuff, it ended up sounding pretty samey. And that's kind of what happens when you're in such a small community with so little content to pick from to cover. So, for my conclusion for my first part here, is that yeah, they are pretty samey, and that some of them do sound like they're reading a script, but it's not because they're intending to, or because they are being spoon-fed information from Wildworks, but just because it's happening naturally based off of what they're doing, who they are, and what information they're covering. Another thing that I wanted to cover in this video was the inactivity of some of the Jambassadors. The biggest problem that I had in researching this part was that I didn't know who all the Jambassadors who are still Jambassadors were. I went on the wiki page for Jambassadors for Animal Jam Classic, which listed both the Playwild and the Classic Jambassadors, and I went through the list of quote-unquote active Jambassadors. However, this list was noticeably unfinished. There were a couple people who I knew were Jambassadors who just weren't there, like the person that I interviewed, Delicate. They weren't on that list at all. And when I went back and looked through some of the people who were listed as active Jambassadors, some of them haven't posted in upwards of 2 years. And I wouldn't call that active. And so I was immediately uncertain whether or not that this list was current. And I still went through it and I still looked at all of their channels. And from what I could grasp, a lot of the people who are still quote-unquote current Jambassadors, yeah, they don't post a lot. They might post once every couple months, once every 5 months, and there were a bunch of them who straight up haven't posted since about a year when the AJ Play promotion was going on, during which they were incentivized to post because Animal Jam was doing collabs with these well-known jammers for actual money. And I mean, if Animal Jam offered me money to go back to the game just to post a video, I probably would have too. And so what I have come to the conclusion of is that, one, some of the Jambassadors that are considered the current Jambassadors really shouldn't be Jambassadors anymore. Do I think there should be a hard limit on how often someone has to post to remain a Jambassador? No. People are people, they have lives, they have jobs, they go to college or high school, and it's understandable that you probably won't have to see them post every week for them to remain a Jambassador. But 3 months, 4 months, 5 months without posting, I feel like they should have gotten a DM and a heads up from Animal Jam saying, hey, are you still interested? Because that is kind of harshing the reputation of all of the Jambassadors by having so many of them hardly Jambassadors at all anymore. And I can see that, and I actually do agree 100% that I don't think that's right. I don't think people that haven't posted in 6 months should remain Jambassadors. And there's another part about this as well, is that some people who are posting semi-frequently and who are still active Jambassadors, as in they're hosting these events that AJHQ is posting about, and they're giving out items during games and parties, I want to mention something about those people too, who still are active, but aren't active in game. What I mean by that is, if you go to the official Jambassador pack in Animal Jam and you look through the list of all of the Jambassadors in there, a lot of them haven't been on in 30 days, and if they have been on, they haven't been on since the last promotional event, like the Halloween event they did, or the St. Patrick's Day event they did. It seems like some of these Jambassadors are only logging on to Animal Jam to host these events, and I kind of feel wishy-washy about that too. I talked to 2 Jambassadors about this, about the activity thing, and one of them said straight up to me they actually stopped being a Jambassador because it was too much. Another one of them said that they weren't very active anymore because they were in college and they had a lot going on in their life. And actually, I do believe, I talked to Delicate about this as well, and the same thing kind of came up. Everybody has a life and has things to do. But I have a life and I have things to do. And there's a lot of players, and pretty prominent players, that have a life and have things to do, yet they stay pretty current. Sure, maybe they don't log on every single day, but they're logging on weekly, they're logging on maybe bi-weekly. They're logging on enough that they know what's going on in-game, they're up to date on all of the features, and they're active within the community, whereas a lot of Jambassadors, they really aren't. And there are a couple who are still super active, like Leora and Delicate, but there's just a bunch out there who really aren't and are just logging on to these events, and that's really it. And that makes me wonder, are these really Jambassadors? Because by definition, Jam, Animal Jam, Ambassador. The word ambassador means to represent a community or a country. And I don't really see a lot of these Jambassadors as being ambassadors. Sure, they're cool content creators with cool ideas and very fun personalities, but I do see some of the truth in what people are saying. I can understand why these people aren't active, but I do agree that that does make for some, in some cases, not very strong Jambassadors. Which I was going to lead into a whole nother section, but I think that I can merge these two together. Jambassadors used to be, back in the day, in the golden era, as some people like to call it, the face of Animal Jam. Syria Moon, Julian 2, Bepper, Jelly Jones. They were, when you thought of Animal Jam, like the player base, they were who you thought of. They did what the community did. They were active as the community was. And a lot of the Jambassadors really are not that anymore. And I actually do agree. I have never played Animal Jam Classic seriously. Though Animal Jam Classic was technically what did get me into Animal Jam Play Wild, was I started watching Animal Jam Classic videos, and I wanted to see if I could get Animal Jam on my phone because I didn't have a computer, and that's how I found Play Wild. And that's why I started playing Play Wild so early. But there was a sense of community that a lot of the Jambassadors really don't have, and it could be because of the shift in the player base, but I'm not going to toss blame around. I don't think it's kind of anyone's fault. I do think it is in part because of how much the community is shrinking. And some of the big faces of Animal Jam out there post the kind of content that no, Animal Jam isn't going to want to officially, host. Yeah, Animal Jam doesn't say anything against the Jambassadors posting negative information about Animal Jam or confronting huge controversies within the game, but they don't really want to make that the face of their game. That's like if EA had their slogan, "We're pay to win." Not gonna get a lot of good customers, so they're probably going to outwardly go and pick people who are willingly posting positive content. And that means nothing wrong on the Jambassadors' part. They are amazing people. Every single Jambassador that I have interacted with were an incredible person who were dedicated to the game, dedicated to their fans, and genuinely enjoyed everything about it. But they aren't the face of the community. The community is a lot more divided than it was back in 2015. We have the little kids who are playing Animal Jam because they're little kids who like silly games about animals in a magical world. And then you have another big chunk of the community who are teenagers or young adults who are passionate about the game from their childhood, who feel a lot of nostalgia towards it and want that nostalgia tended to. And a lot of the Jambassadors, being chosen more so for the younger side of the community, they aren't getting that from the Jambassadors. There are a couple of them who really do feed into that, but most of them don't. And that is why a lot of people are upset about it. And I personally can understand it. I don't agree with it. I'm pretty much a grown-up kid who loves kid stuff, and I love magical little animals. They're fun. But a lot of people, they aren't looking for that. They're looking for change, positive change. And when they aren't hearing their voice projected through the voices of the people that are meant to represent them, they're gonna be upset, and I can understand, value, and respect that. And I didn't make this video with the intentions of changing anybody's mind. I know that a lot of you in the comments are probably going to present me with information that I haven't seen before, new opinions, a whole bunch of new info about why you don't like them, and I could cover every single point, I could go over every single piece of evidence, and I could never change your mind. Because it's your opinion, and you feel strongly about it, just as I feel strongly about this. So I didn't make this with the intent to change anybody's mind. What I did make this with the intent of doing, though, is to stop some of the hate. Some of the things that I have seen are just downright vile. It's as if you forget that these people are people. Some of them are minors. And you're talking about them as if they're some sort of corporate entity. They're not being paid. They're not being given any form of physical compensation for what they do. They're doing this out of their hearts, out of their passion, and out of the love for their community. And yeah, they're being given some recognition for it. But I would probably like to bet that a lot of people watching this video, if given the chance, would love to be part of something, a part of the game that they loved so much. And that's just all the Jambassadors are doing. So if you want to turn your negative emotions, your disappointment, your anger towards anybody, please don't let it be the people who are trying their best and putting their heart into it. I can understand that this is a polarizing topic and that it's been a while and I've been talking for almost 25 minutes now, but I hope that you can leave this video with some more understanding of both sides, no matter which side of the fence that you're on, and that we can all just chill out. Because yeah, the Animal Jam community has certainly changed. In some ways for the better, in a lot of ways, for what a lot of people are saying, for the worse. But the only way that we can bring back the positive community that everybody loves is by bringing the community together. And we are not doing that by drawing walls and fighting each other. What I think could help a lot of people is a little bit of kindness. Sure, maybe you don't have the strongest opinion of someone, but it might help if you either keep it to yourself or direct it to the people who genuinely deserve it. Try a little bit of kindness. A little bit of kindness goes a long way. I'll see you all around.